For the first 35 years of my life, one thing I was not concerned with was my hairline. It never really crossed my mind. I never thought I had a hairline problem until I started working with Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose, and I didn't know this. One thing about Jalen is Jalen, every time he meets somebody, he looks at them, shakes their hand, looks at their shoes, and then evaluates their hairline. I thought this was unique to Jalen. It's not unique to Jalen. Draymond Green on Snapchat went to every member of Team USA, took a picture of them, and then evaluated their hair situation. First, he had Jimmy Butler and DeAndre Jordan. He just said their hair was extremely rough.
He also said Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan's were rough. And I sense a theme. Most of those guys basically are rocking the same type of haircut.
Well, then he starts to get personal. Then he goes over to Carmelo and he says, mellow joint getting deep in the corners. So for my Caucasian American brothers, can you explain what deep in the corners means?
Well, Carmelo's a little bit older than them. So what ends up happening as your hair starts to recede and or thin, you automatically go from having a Paul George hairline, which Draymond Green calls a baby hairline, to having a LeBron James type hairline.
But then we get over to Harrison Barnes, and this is what Draymond said about Harrison Barnes. HB need a cut, and he hiking and deep in the corners. What does hiking mean?
If you look above his temple, almost down to his ear, that's basically a straight line. All you're missing is some skis.
I have a question for you, Jalen. And we're good friends. I want you to be honest with me, okay? Am I deep in the corners? Am I hiking?
You are a combination of both.
I'm at the
but
top
you're still
of the mountain.
Hanging on.
I'm already hiked.
You're still hanging on at the top in the middle, but if you were a little bit darker, that'd be a lot of forehead.
Exactly. And then this is an interesting one. He gets to Klay Thompson. Klay, bad taper, but no real issues. What does that mean?
Bad taper is right where you see between the middle and the top of the ear, the part that's faded.
Like right
it
here.
almost looks like a boulder right there. It should look almost like waves. And so it's kind of crumpled, but usually I can't front. There are a couple of guys on their team, as somebody that pays attention to this.
Hold on. I just want to tell you something. When you say as someone who pays attention to this, you're doing a disservice to yourself. You are like the leading hairline evaluation specialist, not just at ESPN, but in the world. One thing I want to point out, you always have to look in the mirror. If you're pointing the finger at everybody else and make fun of everybody else's hairline, do you know what else you have to do? You have to push the button on the phone that turns the camera around. And he finally finished by saying, mine's thinning and hiking it.
How many takes do you think it really took for him to get all of these, especially after what he dealt with recently?
I'm not letting Draymond Green point the phone at me. You know what I mean? He obviously doesn't know what he's doing with it. There's clear evidence that he does not know what he's doing with his social media, especially on Snap.